Carlow Tourism, Michael Walsh, the General Manager of the Seven Oaks here, Cian Waters, Head of Enterprise in Carlow County Council, Carlow Rose, Katie Ryan, and the Wexford Rose, Clean O'Leary, and they are both with us this evening. I think both did an excellent job representing both County Carlow and then Wexford when they participated in August this year in the International Rose and Tralee competition. Dan McInerney, President of Carlow Lions Club, our esteemed guest Rachel Allen, that you're all here to see, and our chefs, who are not a little bit nervous at all about having to cook for Rachel Allen. So we have Cian Waters of Waterlilies in Carlow Town and Tullow, Jamula Lamb of the New Moon Indian Restaurant in Tullow. Then we have John Carey of the Seven Oaks Hotel and Carlow Prendergast of the Woodford Dolman Hotel. We're here this evening for the launch of Carlow Restaurant Week, and that is being officially performed by Rachel at tonight's event. We started Restaurant Week last year with the assistance of Carlow County Council and the local enterprise office. And last year the programme focused on a dedicated Carlow dish on the menu of each participating member. And we have 12 members within the Food Network. This year we've gone a little step further, and we have a series of events. They start this Saturday, and they range from the Halloween event at Carlow Farmers Market to Meet the Maker out at Couple House Farm on next Monday, the 27th, and the whole way along during the week until we end on the 2nd of November with two events. One is Pilates and brunch in the morning in the Old Post Cafe in Bagnallstown, and the second then is a jazz night in Waterlilies on Tullow Street in Carlow Town. And we didn't give you information on the way in because we thought it would be ruffling and shuffling and we leave it all until the end. But what we have, in addition to a few little goodies, we have your recipe card in your bag as you leave. So all the recipes that are being cooked here tonight, you'll be able to take them home and try them for yourself. And we also have the programme for Restaurant Week, both the events and then the dishes in each of the participating premises. So first up is sourdough bread making in Carlow Farmhouse cheese pairing by Cian Waters. Then you can look forward to onion bhaji by Jamul in the New Moon Indian. The next one then is savoury beef and Carlow ale pie from John Carey in the Seven Oaks here. We'll then have a 10-minute break where we will conclude our raffle sales for the evening. And again, all the proceeds of tonight go to the Carlow Lions Club Christmas Food Appeal, which they do in conjunction with Carlow St Vincent de Paul. And then we come back for the sour apple panna cotta with honey and Walsh whiskey caramel by Carlow Prendergast from the Woodford Dolman Hotel. So with that, I'm going to hand you over to Cian Waters, who's the Head of Enterprise in Carlow County Council. And I mentioned already that the funding that we have received to actually run Restaurant Week and run the network comes from the County Council, and we wouldn't be doing any of this without them. So I'll hand over to Cian to say a few words.
Thank you very much. You're doing a great job. She organised all this. Give her a massive round of applause. I will go through all the instructions. Minister, obviously, to acknowledge the Minister, roses, presidents, guests. Can you all promise me one thing? I'm at an event where they're handing me out a recipe card. Can you all promise if you meet my wife, you don't tell her that I got recipe cards and instructions? Because I set an expectation around 13 years ago and I want to keep that expectation. Listen, at the local enterprise office, I'll hold the microphone up. Thank you, Eileen. I can't follow cooker instructions, I can't follow microphone instructions. We're very delighted in Carlow County Council to support this event. Food is really important, and we're heading into those winter months, and there's like the nighttime economy is really important, getting out supporting our restaurants, our farmers markets on our Saturdays, the local producers, the series, the Welsh whiskies, the sunshine juices, and everything else that's around the table. So we're delighted to support this event, but also over Halloween is a great opportunity just to get out and to experience all the great activities that are happening. Obviously, we've loads of other activities happening for Halloween. So tomorrow night, if you have youngies, we're obviously doing fire night in the grounds of Carlow College, so please come out and support that. And there's great work done by Carlow Tourism and Michael and the board, and obviously Eileen, all year round, so we're happy to support this. What's also great tonight is working with Lions Club. Like, over Christmas, they do wonderful things, and as Eileen said, all the proceeds goes towards their annual appeal. You don't want to hear me, you want to get on with the food, because actually what was really interesting, and I don't know if you saw it, you were calling out the recipe of the chefs. Now obviously some of the women have seen the chefs and they're really excited to see them cook, so that's the first thing. We have really sexy cooks in Carlow. And it'd be handy folks if, I've never had an event where there's been heckling, and the more wolf whistles you give the chefs the better, because they are nervous, but wolf whistling I think would encourage them to cook a lot better. But the other thing is, the audience got really excited by desserts. Like, there was a little smile, and as you talked, particularly the women over here, you know, when you got into dessert, they really got excited. So folks, get really excited during the night. This is all about Carlow food. We're delighted working with Carlow Tourism on it. As I said, Eileen's going to give you the recipe cards. There's loads of local great ingredients, loads of local restaurants, and that's enough from me. I'll hand back to Eileen to introduce our wonderful chefs.
Thank you very much, Cian. Just one point on my right and in front of me, we have some of the wonderful food and drink producers in the county. So we have Carlow Brewing Company just behind the main audience, Copenhagen House Farm out in Tullow over to my right, Carlow Farmhouse Cheese, and Cian is going to discuss some of the cheeses from Elizabeth Bradley's on-farm enterprise. Sunshine juice that's also been used in Quaylon's recipe for the sour apple panna cotta, as is Welsh Whiskey Distillery. Then we have Malone Food Farm over there as well, Lisnava House and their veg boxes, the Bunbury veg boxes. So just take time during the break and before you leave to have a visit to each of the stands and see what great food and drink we do have in Carlow. With that, as Cian says, you're not here to listen to me. I'm going to hand over to Rachel Allen, and I'll call her up to the stage here with Cian Waters, who's going to start the sourdough bread making. Thank you.
I've already got an onion bhaji. Thank you so much, Jim. Well, I just tasted a little bit of it. Oh, you're in for a treat. We actually are going to have lots of little tasters going around this evening, so hopefully everyone will get a little bit of something. Anyway, that's there. I am really delighted here to launch the Carlow Restaurant Week. What an honour! And we have some treats in store for tonight. So, this is very exciting. I met you down at Ballymaloo about a month ago, and when you came down holding Elizabeth's large cheese, and you had some of your fantastic sourdough. So Cian,
yes,
you started Waterlilies. How many years ago?
We started. I suppose the journey started in 2021 with a big renovation on the building where we sit now on Tullow Street, and the doors opened in February 2022.
Wow.
We've been open almost every day since.
Oh my gosh. So baking all through the night, baking through the night to open the doors in the morning.
Yeah, so I guess there's very few hours of the day where we aren't working.
I hear you do wine and cheese nights as well.
We do wine, we do cheese, we sometimes paint. We've had pottery courses, we do a lot other than make bread.
Sip and paint evenings
yes,
as well.
Absolutely,
That sounds like a bit of fun.
We're open to doing most things that anyone in the community or anyone within our team has an idea to do, so we try and be as kind of collaborative and creative as possible as we can be with kind of putting on events that we can enjoy ourselves, and obviously that we can offer to people in the community.
That's so lovely. How lucky is Carlow to have you? Yes. So, sourdough.
Yes, sourdough bread.
Delicious, lovely sourdough bread, which is, quite a mystery to lots of people because
It is.
it's flour and water.
Yes.
So tell us about your sourdough.
Yeah, I mean, sourdough is certainly a mystery. It was nice actually. When I went down to visit you, you had to run back in and put on a class. So you were off doing what you did, and then I went off exploring a little bit. And I went into your bakery, and I started chatting to all your bakers, and it's amazing really when you start talking to bakers and people that make bread every day, how excited people are to learn about the small details that make each loaf a little bit different. And it is a little bit, especially with sourdough bread. I think it's, I don't mean, without going too far back, within Irish culture there's a huge culture of bread making, and bread in general is probably something that is the food that unites most cultures. If you go to
The breaking of the bread.
almost anywhere, the breaking of the bread is a great example, but it was always a bit of a mystery because in the same way that alcohol, it was kind of, they were known as the brew wives in Irish kind of like history, and they would have been involved in, they had this specific role of producing alcohol for the village, and it was kind of a secret thing behind closed doors because they would add ingredients together and then they would leave it for some days and then it would start bubbling and you would drink it and then you would kind of get a glimpse of heaven, It was this very mysterious thing.
Really experimenting.
Yeah. Now we're not making alcohol today. But in the same way with bread, bread in the way that we're going to make it today and in the way that we make it in Waterlilies and other bakeries all over the country as these kind of old traditions come back, is it would have been as well the job of these same women in a community where flour and water was mixed together and it was inedible. But if you left it kind of behind closed doors, no one knew what these women were doing, but they were putting some kind of magic into the bread. It would start bubbling and this would give life to the bread and then this would come to a point where it could be eaten. So it was a very mysterious and it was a very kind of a spiritual practice making bread at this time. Now we understand that the magic ingredient is, I suppose, the sourdough culture or the yeast that exists in the air and the environment and all around us, which I think is what makes bread. I think it's a beautiful thing because it's not necessarily like something that is necessarily good or bad in different areas, but it's different. And you can't.
Microclimates.
I've made bread in the hills of Nepal, and I've made bread in Germany and Spain. Obviously, I've made a lot of bread in Ireland, and even if I'm trying to achieve something similar, even with the same ingredients, it'll always be dramatically different, and that's because there's this essence, this ether, this magic in the air that comes in, inoculates the bread, and produces something special. Yeah. So these are all the ingredients. So in a loaf of sourdough, at least as we make it, or at least as it's made traditionally in kind of all places, these are all the ingredients. So this is the sourdough starter. So this is the first thing that will be made, and this is something that existed well before Waterlilies existed. I had spent some time with bakers in Germany, so biodynamic farming it's quite a large topic by itself, and we can explore it in some way. But it's a method of organic farming that was developed by Rudolf Steiner, who's kind of developed a lot of interesting ways in education and different things. But this farm, they gifted me some starter, and also another bakery in Dublin, Scale Bakery. I would have worked with them a little bit. In the beginning, I went to college with them, so I used to bake with them quite a bit, and they gifted me some starter, and then I also made my own starter as we were renovating the building. So all these went together. So when you say starter, it is flour and water that then yeast from the natural environment has I guess, come to enjoy the starch that's in the flour. So it eats this starch, and it produces carbon dioxide, which is the bubbles that exist. And this is what helps bread to rise. But if you continue feeding it, it goes on forever. So we had this and then we continue feeding it, and it's what we use to make our bread every single day.
What about if you go on holidays? What should people do with their starter if they...
So there's a number of ways you can
Is it
kind of
like
approach
a
it.
dog, you need someone to feed it?
That is the best approach. If you can find someone to feed it, and if you can't, you can put it to sleep. So
Not like your dog.
not like your dog. You can leave it in a fridge. I guess there's three main elements when it comes to making bread. There's time, there's temperature, and then there's the activity of the starter. So the activity is kind of like, it can be very hungry or it can be a little bit sleepy. If it's very hungry, you need to feed it a lot of flour, and it'll get hungrier as it gets hotter. But if you put it in the fridge, it cools down and kind of hibernates, and so it's quite happy for a number of weeks, left by itself. Yeah. So next we have flour. We have a few different types of flour, so we use a blend of different flours. We use some flour from an organic mill in France, Oak Forest Mills in Kilkenny. We work with Carl's Mill also in Kilkenny, and then we have some organic rye from Germany. So that's kind of what makes up the flour, and then we have some Irish sea salt. And then I suppose in terms of ingredients that are important to me in general is water. So most cooking involves mostly water. You know, we produce coffee, we do all these things, and coffee is more than 90% water. But we focus so much on the coffee beans and the milk and all these things, but in reality the main ingredients in almost everything we make, soup or otherwise, is water. So when we opened Waterlilies, the first thing that we wanted to look at was the water. So we have quite a simple but detailed, a lot of thought went into it, a filtration system that kind of cleans the water and keeps the important minerals in while getting rid of any heavy metals or anything. So this is filtered water from our cafe. That's filtered at the main, so absolutely everything we do is made with this filtered water. So this is kind of the final ingredient and maybe the most important one. In terms of making sourdough, it's quite a lengthy process. Anyone who has made it will understand that it takes a number of hours, actually a number of days. So today we're going to kind of just explore this. I'm going to ask
So
you.
we'll all be here until Sunday.
Yeah, and then you'll get bread after all. But you will have to use your imagination a little bit as I kind of talk you through these things. So the first thing we'll do is we'll add in the starter. So the ingredients in front of me, they're exactly what we use to make one loaf of sourdough. We, of course, do it in much larger batches, but
How many loaves do you make a day?
per day, I guess it averages. The weekend would be our big baking days. So at the weekend, we would do in excess of 100. During the week, it would probably be closer to 50. And then again, it depends on the season, I suppose, and what is needed in the community. We
What's
find
happening?
in summertime, we sell a lot less bread.
Yeah.
I guess people they're not wearing their lunch for these things.
It's interesting. Yeah, the summer you sell less bread.
Yeah. More coffee,
Well,
more ice
yeah,
coffee.
more bread in the winter.
So we're going to add in the flour.
It's like they're all in mass.
Eileen did ask me, she said, Cian, how do you want to serve the bread? And I said, well, I might just get people to queue up and we can hand it out. And there was a pause for about 5 seconds and then I told her it's a joke. It was a joke. So one thing you'll hear about, and for people who are more experienced in making bread, is hydration. So hydration is the amount of water that is used. Within, I suppose, the community of sourdough baking, there's a huge kind of interest in kind of trying to up the hydration or lower the hydration, which means the amount of water that's in it. The more water that's in it, the more kind of it opens up, the more of these kind of big traditional kind of bubbles that exist in it, and the less water, I guess, as you go down, the denser it'll be. So this loaf here is 75% hydration, which is a relatively, well, it's a pretty high hydration.
Would you mind showing it to the camera here?
Yeah,
the picture,
absolutely.
What it's like?
So this is the dough. So if everyone wants to, if you'll allow me, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for a number of moments at certain points where you can kind of imagine a lengthy period of time where something is happening, and I'll explain to you what's happening during this time. So if you want to all close your eyes. So while you have your eyes closed, which won't be for hours, but you're going to imagine that over the course of the next kind of 4 hours, this is going to be kind of the time. So right now, water has been mixed with the flour, so the inner kind of nucleus of the flour, of the wheat,